Okay, so you're prepping for a call center quality auditor interview, huh? That's a pretty cool role. And we've got the inside scoop from RoleCatcher to help you ace it. They're all about giving you a leg up in your job search.
Yeah, they've got some really great resources. Think of this deep dive as your cheat sheet to decode what hiring managers really want.
I like that, a cheat sheet. Plus, we'll sprinkle in some tips on how their AI can be your secret weapon. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's back up a sec. What does a call center quality auditor even do?
Well, the role catcher guide describes it really well. It's like you're listening in on calls, either live or recorded, and making sure the agents are following procedures, giving customers a great experience.
So you're like the guardian of good service, making sure the whole call center runs smoothly.
Exactly. You analyze calls, give feedback, and basically keep the quality bar high. And what's really cool is the guide actually maps out the entire career path. You can see how you can move up from call center operator all the way to quality auditor.
Oh, wow. So you can get a sense of where you might be headed long term. That's super helpful.
Totally. It's like a sneak peek into your potential future. But let's get down to business and talk about those interview questions. RoleCatcher highlights some really common ones that you'll want to be ready for.
Because let's be real, nailing the interview is key. Let's start with a question that seems pretty straightforward. What experience do you have in a call center environment?
This one might seem basic, but it's your chance to really showcase your knowledge. Don't just list off jobs. Think about the types of calls you handled, how many you dealt with each day, and what you learned from those experiences.
So instead of just saying, I worked at X company for Y years, I'd say something like, I handled an average of 50 calls per day, everything from billing inquiries to tech support. And that taught me the importance of active listening and being a clear communicator.
Exactly. Show them you really get the call center world. And they might even follow up with something like, can you give me an example of a particularly challenging call you handled and how you resolved it?
Ooh, that's a good one. They're definitely looking to see if you can problem solve and stay cool under pressure.
You got it. This is your chance to shine, pick a specific situation, talk about what you did, and highlight the positive outcome you were able to achieve.
And I bet this is where RoleCatcher's AI could come in handy, right? It could analyze the job description and suggest examples from your experience that would really resonate with this specific employer.
It's like having a personal interview coach in your pocket, helping you tailor your answers to hit the mark. Okay, let's move on to another common one. How do you measure quality in a call center?
Hmm. This one feels a little tricky because you can't just say good customer service, right?
Definitely not. You got to go deeper than that. RoleCatcher recommends mentioning specific methods like call monitoring, customer feedback surveys, agent performance metrics, stuff like that. But don't just list them off. Explain why they matter and how you've actually used them in the past.
Got it. So for example, I might say something like call monitoring is crucial because it helps identify areas where agents are doing great and where they might need more coaching. And then I could add, in my previous role, I used call monitoring data to create training programs, which actually led to a 10% increase in customer satisfaction.
Ooh. Now you've got concrete examples, you're showing them your analytical skills. They might even follow up with, what are some key performance indicators or KPIs you would track as a quality auditor?
This is where I'd really show off my knowledge of the metrics that drive call center success.
Exactly. Think about things like first call resolution rate, average handle time, customer satisfaction scores, even stuff like adherence to compliance guidelines. Explain why each one is important and how it all ties into overall service quality.
And of course, RoleCatcher's AI could help me figure out which KPIs are most relevant to this particular job.
It's all about being strategic, right? Okay, another question they might throw your way is, how do you coach and develop agents to improve their performance?
The coaching question. This is where you show them you're not just an evaluator, but you're also a mentor.
Exactly. Don't just say you'd give feedback. Talk about how you'd actually pinpoint areas for improvement, your techniques for giving constructive criticism, and how you motivate agents to really reach their full potential.
So instead of saying I'd listen to their calls and give them feedback, I'd say something like, I believe in a collaborative approach to coaching. I'd review call recordings with the agent, focusing on both their strengths and areas for improvement.
Love it. You're showing them a structured approach and that you genuinely care about helping agents succeed. They might even ask you, can you give me an example of a time you helped an agent significantly improve their performance? That's where a real-life success story comes in handy. I'd talk about an agent who was struggling, what I did to coach them, and the awesome results they were able to achieve. Those real-life examples really bring your answers to life. And again, RoleCatcher's AI can analyze your past experiences and help you choose the most compelling examples to share.
Okay, let's switch gears a little. Have you ever been asked about implementing a quality improvement project in a call center?
Ooh, that one could be tough. But even if I haven't led a formal project, I can think of times when I took initiative to improve processes or took on extra responsibility to make things better.
That's the key. Those experiences, even if they weren't in a formal leadership role, can be super valuable.
And remember, the STAR method is your friend here. Situation, task, action, result. Lay out the situation, what your task was, what actions you took, and of course, highlight those positive results.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher can help you pick out which projects or initiatives from your past would be most relevant to this specific job.
So it's all about tailoring your answers to what they're looking for. Before we move on to more questions, I want to touch on something the RoleCatcher Guide really emphasized: soft skills. Such a good point. It's not just about the technical stuff. You need strong communication skills, empathy, that ability to build relationships.
Yeah, and that's tough to show on a resume. So it's important to weave those soft skills into your interview answers.
Absolutely. You want to show them you can handle tough conversations with grace, motivate others, and be a real team player. Those qualities are super valuable in a call center environment. Okay, back to the questions. Let's talk about making sure agents follow procedures. RoleCatcher recommends being ready for: how do you ensure that agents are following call center procedures and protocols?
This one is all about showing you understand how important consistency is, making sure everyone is following the guidelines.
You don't just want to say, I'd tell them to follow the rules. Think about specific strategies you'd put in place, like regular training, call monitoring, and evaluation, using those performance metrics, maybe even creating incentive programs.
So you'd have a whole multifaceted approach to keep those standards high. And they might follow up with, what would you do if you noticed an agent consistently deviating from established procedures?
Now, this is where you show you can address issues directly and hold people accountable. I might say, first, I'd try to understand why the agent is deviating. Maybe they need more training, or perhaps there's a flaw in the procedure itself. Then I'd outline the steps I'd take to correct the behavior. It could be additional coaching, revising the procedure, or in extreme cases, disciplinary action.
Okay, let's talk about dealing with those really tough customers. The ones that get escalated. RoleCatcher anticipates, how do you handle difficult or escalated customer calls?
This is where empathy, communication skills, and problem solving really come into play. Walk the interviewer through your process for de-escalating tense situations, resolving conflicts, and making sure the customer feels heard and hopefully satisfied.
So I might say something like, when I'm dealing with a difficult customer, my first priority is to stay calm and really listen to their concerns. I'd acknowledge their frustration, empathize with their situation, and try to understand the root of the problem.
Great. You're hitting on those key soft skills and showing a customer-centric approach. Now, what if they say, can you share an example of a time you successfully de-escalated a tense situation with a customer?
This is my chance to tell a story that showcases my ability to think on my feet, find creative solutions, all while handling the pressure.
Remember, RoleCatcher's AI can help you pick the most relevant example from your past to use for these kinds of questions. Okay, we've covered a lot, but RoleCatcher has a few more crucial questions we need to hit before wrapping up this part.
Let's hear them.
Let's talk about making sure information is accurate. It's so critical in a call center, so be ready for: how do you ensure that agents are providing accurate and complete information to customers?
It's not enough to just hope they know their stuff.
Yeah.
You've got to have systems in place to guarantee accuracy.
Think about things like regular knowledge checks, making sure agents have easy access to resources, and creating a culture where they're comfortable asking questions if they're unsure.
And call monitoring and feedback play a role here too. Regular evaluation helps identify any knowledge gaps or if any wrong information is being shared.
Exactly. And they might follow up with, what steps would you take if you discovered an agent was consistently providing inaccurate information?
That question is all about taking corrective action and upholding quality standards. I might talk about providing additional training, clarifying procedures, maybe implementing a double-checking system, or in serious cases, taking disciplinary action.
You got it. It's about showing them you're not afraid to address issues head-on and that you prioritize getting things right.
Okay, let's talk about something that's a constant in any call center: change management. RoleCatcher says to prepare for, how do you implement changes in call center processes or procedures?
This one's all about showing you can manage change effectively, which is super important in any fast-paced environment.
Well, I've definitely been part of process improvements and seen new software rolled out. And those experiences, even if I wasn't the one leading the change, can be really helpful to draw on here.
Absolutely. The interviewer is looking for a structured approach. How do you identify areas for improvement? How do you communicate those changes clearly? And how do you handle any pushback?
So it's all about having a plan, not just winging it. What if they ask, can you give an example of a time you successfully implemented a change in a call center environment?
That's your chance to shine. Share a specific example of how you navigated a change and achieved a positive outcome.
And of course, RoleCatcher can help identify which examples would resonate best with this specific employer.
They're like your personal interview prep assistant. Okay, that wraps up part one of our deep dive into the world of call center quality auditors. We've broken down some challenging interview questions and talked about how RoleCatcher's AI can help you prepare.
We've covered so much already.
And there's more to come. In part two, we'll dive into some industry insights, potential career paths, and even more tips on how to rock that interview. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive. In part one, we tackled those interview questions, but now let's zoom out a bit and look at the bigger picture, the call center industry as a whole.
Right. It's important to understand the landscape, and RoleCatcher's Guide has some really interesting insights here. One thing that really stood out to me is how much the guide emphasizes the growth of the industry and the increasing focus on personalized customer experiences.
Makes sense. Companies are really realizing how important it is to treat each customer as an individual.
Exactly. And that's where the quality auditor's role is becoming even more critical. They're the ones ensuring those interactions are top-notch, genuinely personalized.
So it's not just about following a script anymore. It's about empowering agents to really connect with customers on a human level.
Right. And the guide points out that companies are investing more in tech and training to keep up with those evolving customer needs, which means the quality auditor role is becoming more complex, more crucial.
That's actually pretty exciting. It means there's a lot of room for growth in this field. The guide even outlines potential career paths, which is cool.
Yeah, you could specialize in something like customer experience or compliance or even move into management. It's really neat to see how this role can be a springboard for your career.
Super inspiring. But let's get back to those interview questions. Still got some more to cover.
You're right. Let's dive back in. RoleCatcher suggests prepping for a question that focuses on the impact of your work. Something like, how do you think your role as a quality auditor contributes to improving the overall quality of call center operations?
This is where you connect the dots, right?
Yeah.
Show them how your contributions can have a ripple effect.
Exactly. You could talk about how your evaluations help agents get better, leading to better interactions, increased satisfaction. It's all connected.
And you can mention how your insights help improve processes, make the whole operation smoother, more efficient.
It's about seeing that big picture, right? Understanding how your role fits into the entire ecosystem of the call center. Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Have you ever been asked about salary expectations?
Oh, yeah, that one. Always a little nerve-wracking, but important to be ready.
Definitely. Do your research beforehand. Look at typical salaries for call center quality auditor positions in your area. Websites like Glassdoor and Indeed can be helpful.
And be realistic, of course. Consider your experience, responsibilities, the size of the company, all those things.
Exactly. It's okay to give a range, but make sure it's reasonable. And be prepared to explain your reasoning if they ask.
Good advice. Now, before we wrap up this part, I wanted to touch on something that's crucial but often overlooked in interviews. Showing genuine enthusiasm.
Absolutely. You can have all the right answers, but if you don't seem interested, they'll notice. They want someone who's excited to be there.
Exactly. So think about what gets you pumped about this opportunity. Maybe it's making a positive impact on customer experiences. Maybe it's the analytical side of the role.
Whatever it is, let that shine through in your answers. They're looking for skills, but they also want someone who's genuinely motivated, a good fit for the team.
And, a genuine smile and some positive energy go a long way.
Absolutely. Okay, so before we move on to the final part of our deep dive, let's do a quick recap.
That's good.
We analyzed those common interview questions, talked about the changes happening in the industry, and tackled the salary question.
We sure did.
But there's more. In part 3, we'll look closer at those AI tools from RoleCatcher and how they can help you stand out.
Can't wait.
Plus, we'll leave you with some final thoughts to consider as you prep for this exciting career move, so stay tuned.
We're back for the final part of our deep dive, getting you ready for that call center quality auditor interview. We've covered so much, from those tough interview questions to understanding the industry.
Now it's time for the secret weapon, RoleCatcher's AI. We've talked about it, but let's really dig into how it can level up your interview game.
Okay, I'm ready. Lay it on me.
Remember how we talked about tailoring your resume and cover letter to each job? That's where RoleCatcher's AI shines. It's like a personal stylist, making sure your application stands out.
It analyzes the job description to find those keywords employers want, and then it suggests ways to work them into your resume and cover letter.
Exactly. Not just having the right experience, but showcasing it the right way. And it goes beyond keywords. RoleCatcher's AI helps you structure everything so it's clear and easy to understand for both humans and AI recruiters.
Because these days, your resume probably has to get past an AI screener before a human even sees it.
Having an AI tool on your side is a huge advantage. But let's talk about those interview answers. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it.
And that's where the AI feedback comes in.
Right. You practice your answers on RoleCatcher, and it analyzes your delivery, word choice, even your tone, like a mock interview with an AI coach.
So it can tell me if I'm rambling, or if I need to be more concise or project more confidence.
Exactly. Those little things can make a big difference. It's a secret weapon to help you polish your performance before the big day.
A continuous feedback loop. I love it. Before we wrap up, I wanted to go back to something we touched on earlier, that focus on personalized customer experiences.
Yeah, it's a huge shift in the industry.
Well, think about how you, as a quality auditor, can use that same idea to improve the auditing process itself.
That's interesting. Going beyond checklists and creating more personalized feedback for the agents.
Exactly. How can you tailor your feedback to each agent's strengths and weaknesses? Can you use data to spot trends that inform your coaching?
It's bringing that same level of personalization and insight to the quality assurance process.
Right, and you might even be able to share those ideas during your interview, showing them you're a forward thinker, not just someone who follows the rules.
Shows you're thinking about making a real impact.
So as you get ready for this interview, remember, it's not just about getting the job. It's about stepping into a role that's always changing and growing with the industry. Embrace the challenge, use the tools we've talked about, and let your passion shine through.
And with that, we'll wrap up our deep dive. Best of luck with your interview. You've got this.